Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
And we're back. And if you're joining us now, we're just getting our first conversation for this morning started. And we are continuing with the conversation on the topic of the reopening of schools. Yesterday, of course, if you were watching us, we had an extended conversation with the Minister of Education, the Honorable Francis Fonseca, talking about the ministry's plan for the phased reopening of schools. But this morning, we are going to be hearing directly from some of the educators on whether or not they're ready, how they're feeling about the idea of schools reopening while we're still in the midst of this pandemic. And joining us for this conversation, we have Rocio Carballo, who is the principal of Sacred Heart College. We also have Mr. Angel Leiva, who is the principal of Bishop Martin High School. And we also have Ms. Danica Garnett Humes, who is a teacher from Zion Park Methodist Primary School. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for joining us. This is, of course, a very important conversation. Now, I think the first thing, before we get into, how prepared everyone is for the reopening of schools, I think let's check in and ask what things are like now, a little bit more than a year into the pandemic in Belize. What is the status of schools now? How are how are lessons being taught, and how does what does it look like on the ground now for teachers? So let's start perhaps with Ms. Rocio.
Yes, a pleasant good morning, everyone. Blessings from the West. And definitely, I would like to share that at Sacred Heart College, we have been doing fully online. A lot of investment has been done, for our school to be able to go fully online. We have almost, I would say, 95 to 100% of our students who do have some form of device. Our population is over 900 students at Sacred Heart College, and we have a faculty of about 55 teachers. Mm-hmm. Presently, everything, like I said, is online. At the beginning, last year, what we had was something like a hybrid method, where we would have had some students, half of the population would have been at school and half of the population at home. But it would have been live classes taking place because the teacher would be teaching his or her entire class during that time, nevertheless. And because we did invest in tripod stands and everything to be done so that the students at home would be able to have access to the class happening at school also. When the closure happened, then it was fully online. So as a school, we were ready to go fully online. Presently, that is what we are doing. And we believe that at this point in time, our teachers have been far much more empowered with online teaching, and even our students. Everything, all activities have been conducted online, and I guess that has also empowered our students, our parents. We have even had our PTA meetings with over 800 parents logging in, be able to conduct our PTA meetings and having it with them as well. So as we can see, on COVID-19 has brought, yes, it brought some unprecedented and very challenging times for everyone, but it also empowered us to be more technology savvy. Yeah. When it comes to things that needs to be done. And I guess that all of us need to be grateful for that and look at the positive side of it also. Yeah. If it wasn't for technology, our students also, some of them who had never had access to a device wouldn't have access to it at this point in time, maybe as well. But as a result of that, now we are able to say that our students are definitely learning, and our teachers have done so much and continue to learn. And as a school, like I mentioned earlier, we continue to invest in programs, in app software for our teachers, for them to be able to continue to give the best um, learning activities to our students at home as well.
So you
So,
guys are all online, like it's
yes,
live classes from school to child.
yes.
Okay.
And there is something that we also did at Sacred Heart with our IT department. We work very close with our vice principals, our managers. And what we did was to merge two, three classes that a teacher would be teaching, so that that teacher would be teaching that particular class, since, it was 3 hours, that students would be online.
Yeah.
So that was what was mandated by the ministry. So, in order for us to have something like that and to cover most of our subjects for 40 minutes each, what we did was to merge some classes for a particular teacher. So the teacher would be teaching her entire two classes or even three classes. And
Okay.
that has been working for us at this point in time. It definitely has some challenges, but nevertheless, I think overall we are seeing the fruits of it also.
So let's shift to Danica. Danica, you are at primary level. How have you guys been doing school for the past year?
Well, we have been doing only packages.
Okay.
We have not done any online classes due to the fact that, well, you heard that I teach at Zion Park Methodist School, and it's a rural school, and many of our parents and the students, not many of them have access to the internet per se, because in some areas you don't even have, they can't even get signal. And so we do only packages. I I am not happy that it was only that I could have done, because I know how to work with the online um, Google Classroom, and the Dojo's Zoom and the other apps, but I cannot get the opportunity to do so due to the fact that it will be so unfair for the one or two parents who could get it. It will be good for the parents who could get it, but unfair for the majority who
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
And so we just stick to the packages. But it's very challenging with the packages, because what happened when we first started out, we used to give the parents the packages weekly. And we noticed that when it comes to the end of the week to receive these packages, only a few of them brought in the packages. And so we had to start doing it bi-weekly. And so we get more coming in than before. And so it's a challenge. And one thing I have noticed with it is that for the parents, some of the parents are doing the work for the child, which is so unfair. And then at the end of the day, we have to be putting grades in place or doing those kind of things. And it is not a true reflection of what the child is doing. And what gets to me the most is because I am the infant one and two teacher, because I am at a multi-grade school.
Okay.
And I am so unhappy about what some of my baby are learning now. Because like for my infant one baby, some of them are still not writing. I know that from a fact because of the packages that I have received. And then to be giving grades to these baby or giving them a um by putting them on a grade scale per se, it is so unfair for them. So I am one of those teachers who are ready to get back into my classroom ASAP.
And that's, I appreciate the perspective that you shared, because I think that it's important that we know, especially the online technology. It was a matter, and I've heard it from other schools, of trying to decide if we can't reach all, then we have to do something else. And it seems that's what you settled on there at Zion. Let's move now to Orange Walk, to Bishop Martin.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Um, well, Mrs. Carballo put it well. um, I will repeat a lot of the things she said. We did go online. The the composition, the demographics of our school population is that we have about 70% who live basically in the town because we have two villages that are bordering with the town, so we consider them urban as well, Trial Farm Village and Palmar Village. And so the students have access, you know, electricity, internet access. And what we did is that we ensured first that everybody had access, that they had a device. At first, we were asking if they had a tablet or a laptop. A laptop would be the preferred choice, but unfortunately, that's not the reality. Um, and so once we knew that we would be going online, we realized that even the smartphones would would work.
Yeah.
And once that started, the teachers basically had to do a 180-degree turn because back in July, early August, we were preparing for the return of students to the classroom, having 50% of the population a day. And when the announcement was made that we would open until October 5th, uh, going online, then that's when the frenzy to to get skilled. Uh, some of the teachers who were not really tech savvy went into panic mode. But you know what? The resilience of teachers came out, and that's when camaraderie among colleagues really showed up, and they helped each other. Myself, with extensive IT knowledge, I knew I got in there to assist. And like in our school, we had decided that we would adopt the Google Classroom, the G Suite for Education. And
Yeah.
now that we're in second semester, it feels like it was such a long time ago that we were in that frenzy
Yeah.
that the teachers, we laugh about it, is that everybody is skilled with the online modality for teaching. We ensured, we have been checking constantly with the students and parents by extension, because without the support of the parents, it wouldn't happen. Anybody who was struggling, whether it was a device. If even before the government tablets came in, we were purchasing tablets to loan to students. We ensure that those who are having difficulty getting internet access, we work with the internet service provider, be them cable companies or Digi or Smart, to provide internet access. In an instance for a student living in a rural area, we even provided the solar panel so that they had electricity to charge their device.
Oh, wow. Okay. Quite a bit of innovation taking place all over. Now let's move into the meat of the matter. So we get an understanding of what you've been doing. Now there is the proposal to return to the classrooms in a phased approach. And I want to hear what your plans and reactions are at this point. And first of all, Rocio, I know Sacred Heart has already decided. You've told your parents that you will complete the year online. Tell us about that decision.
Yes, definitely. We met as administrators as soon as we had our meeting with the Ministry of Education, with senior management, and especially where the consideration was provided to us to be able to choose whether face to face, for April, for May, or to be able to complete this school year. And so I met with the entire admin team, which is actually 9 of us, and we looked at all the pros and the cons of everything. And then when that recommendation came, I sent it to the Board of Governors. And unanimously, we had 100% of our board members who supported the recommendation of admin. simply because they did realize that there is no replacement for face-to-face instruction. But nevertheless, they do feel that it is very premature at this point in time for us to be able to return to face-to-face.
Yeah. What was the
There is a lot
reaction?
that,
Sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, what was the reaction from your parents?
Well, I'll be honest with you. We sent it out, and I do have a WhatsApp group with my PTA parents, and a number of them. The first thing when they saw the ad that went out, a number of them said, wise decision coming from Sacred Heart.
Okay.
I know that a few might not be very happy, but I am hoping that they would also be supportive and cooperate with us since we are looking at the best interest of the student, the teachers, the support staff, administrators, and the community at large. It's the safety of everyone. I must say that as an institution, we did put all the protocols that they had required in place at our school. We even have an isolation unit. We have a restricted area. We even hired a nurse to be at the school, to be able, for whatever would happen.
Yeah. Because
So
these
all
were
the
things that were asked by the school to get ready for what would have been the reopening in last August. But my
That's right.
question is though, did you consider at any point reopening? I mean, is it because the system that you have is working that you're continuing this way?
Okay, the system, like I said, is presently working, yes. And we are also looking at the presently with the vaccine that is being distributed. Not all our teachers, not, I guess not even 50% of our staff, has been vaccinated, and the support staff less. And then, having our students coming to the campus, we are looking at all of these things happening.
Is that
And
by
even
choice or they haven't had access?
they have had access.
Okay.
Yes, everyone has the access, faculty.
Okay.
But nevertheless, some of our teachers are very resistant. But I am hoping, I don't know if it's fair. I don't know if it's the not trusting. I cannot say at this
Okay.
point in time. But I am hoping that some of them will definitely change their mind and they would be able to go and get their vaccine as soon as possible.
Okay.
Apart from that, we also had some of our teachers, a few of them, if you can recall, it wasn't breaking news. Some of our teachers got infected with COVID-19. And those teachers are unable to receive the vaccine at this point in time because it should have at least 6 months
Oh.
after they infected the virus that they would be able also to receive the vaccine.
Okay.
So all these different things were taken into consideration, as
So-
well as the prematurity and the time that is left for our students, to make a transition back to face at this point in time. We believe that it is most appropriate and it's a more proactive approach for us to finish the year online. We have been meeting with teachers, getting their input when it comes to adjustments in our academic policies.
Yeah.
And we meet with them, regularly to hear from them also. And then whatever they recommend, we definitely submit that. I do submit that recommendation to the board.
Okay.
And the board has been very supportive in making those adjustments for our students.
Okay. So Angel, let's hear from you. What's the thought process at Bishop Martin?
Well, given that we're already at the Easter break, there's not much time. Our seniors will be with us for a month only. It doesn't make good sense for them to come back. And so we are more inclined into finishing the year online. One of the considerations that came up, but the decision hasn't been finalized, is that we, in terms of exams, if the decision is to have exams, because even that is being deliberated at the moment, then definitely we would want the students to be in the classroom to do exams, because that would lessen the chances for cheating. But the decision on that hasn't been taken yet. We
How are
have
you doing your
polled
consultations? Okay.
our students and parents, and the latest results are that 54% say no, they're not in favor of returning to the classes.
Wow.
31% are saying yes, and 15% are unsure. They're saying maybe.
Wow.
The big concern is the vaccination. Um, Even from amongst our faculty, um, we don't think that having the teachers vaccinated is enough. Um, it's not it's not just that the students won't be vaccinated, because the worldwide statistics are showing that school age persons, um, they're hardly affected by COVID-19. And even those who contract the disease recover, they don't suffer the severe symptoms of the disease. The big concern is that if students are coming to school, they will be the potential carriers of the virus. And so they will be the ones taking it back home. And the people who are most vulnerable and for whom it can be fatal, are the adults at home. It could be parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles. And so it's not enough just to have the teachers vaccinated.
Okay.
We need to have the entire adult population in this country vaccinated. So I think we should wait. Another thing to consider, is that we're into Easter break, and even though the quarantine regulations are restricting the movement of people, we can see just in the last holiday that happened, people are moving around, people are going to bathing spots and so forth. So we might have a spike in COVID-19 infections after Easter. It will take up to 2 weeks later. So a return to the class April 12th, I think it's too soon. We need to wait and see. We know what happened after the elections, so these experiences are supposed to guide us. So we think it's premature to return to classes right now.
It's interesting. I was kind of zoning into your health concerns there, because we did a quick poll yesterday. People were saying that the main reason they don't want to go back to school, parents were saying, is because of the health concerns. So your poll that you've actually done with your student body and parents, 54% said no. So that's a majority right there. But your concerns are not just about teachers getting sick. You're concerned about the students passing it to each other or taking it home to adults who may be unvaccinated.
That's right.
Now, at what point how do you make this decision moving forward? So you have 54% that say no, but there's still about half that are open or considering, open or in support, I should say. So how do you make the decision moving forward?
Well, we will definitely return to the classroom. We can't stay at home the entire time.
Yeah.
But we recommend that we prepare for the return to the classrooms for the next school year. By the time, if the rate of infection is low, the way it is right now, that you might have 1-2 infections a day, then it will be wise to return to the classrooms, given that we have all the measures in place for students to maintain their physical distance, to be wearing the face mask, the sanitizing and disinfecting measures that we have, the sensitization to the reality of what it will be for the return to the classroom. All of those things will be in place.
And Danica, earlier you had said that you were ready to go back into the classroom ASAP. Now, what is the feeling that you get from your fellow teachers, and perhaps any feedbackers that you might know from parents in the community, and what, or if any concerns are there that you or anybody else that you've heard from have at this time?
Well, I will speak for my school. What we have done a survey where we collaborated with our parents, management, and so on. And we, through the collaboration and doing our little survey and so on, many of our parents had agreed so far for their child to go back into the classroom. And I don't think that they're thinking of, oh, how this virus will spread or anything like that. But I think that they're thinking, many of them are frustrated because many of them can't help their child. Some of them in the home, they don't have that extra help at home for their children. And this is coming from the primary school level. What I have done, even though they have said that we are not supposed to have students coming to our homes and things like that, I had I had my babies who were struggling. I live here in Mascal. I teach in Santana village. And I told two of my parents, I said, well, if you're having this issue, I said, let them come to my home. I said, if I have to be used as an example for not doing what the ministry is saying on the TV and so on, I said, but the child needs help and it will only get worse. And so from doing our little survey, the majority of the parents, because what happened, we have the school bus that we have to use.
Yes.
And because it's all the little villages, we have Corsalita, we have students from Mascal, we have students from Santana, we have students from Lucky Strike and St. Anne's. And what happened is we have a school bus that takes them to school. So we had to put in the survey whereby if the government does not provide the bus for the phase-in, will they find a way to get their child to and from school? And even that, the majority of the parents said, yes, they will find a way to get their child to and from school. And we even asked about the feeding, their lunch. And they said, yes, we will find a way to get them, to let them have their lunch to be at school. So a lot of them is through frustration because they're not reaching their child the way they're supposed to reach them.
Yeah.
And the reason why I said that I am ready, remember now I am at the foundation. Yeah. And the minute these students lose that foundation, that is it. Because not all teachers will push for these students to be at a certain level. Right? Some of us as teachers know to get frustrated when we get children into our class who are not performing the way they're supposed to be performing.
Yeah.
And many of us don't want to take that extra mile to do an intervention or so to get that children from point A to point B. And right now, as I am presently speaking, we will be in that position. We will have to be putting intervention in place to get these children from point A to point B. Because as speaking, I don't know, I am wondering what would the high schools will get for some of these first farmers.
Yeah. Well,
Because
I want to touch on that. I want to touch on that before we wrap up the show. But before that, Danica, let me just find out, how ready is your school for the return to face-to-face? And the plan, I believe, back in August was either a shift schedule, of some sort. Yeah.
Well, what happened is, our school is a small school.
Okay.
So if they said 17 can hold in the classroom, our 17 will be in the classroom.
Okay.
But we decided that we will do the staggering where we will have Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we'll have one set of students so that we can just have solo class because we are a multi-grade school. So we decided to go that way if we should reopen on the 12th or May, because then at some point we need to reach to these students. Especially I know two of my infant one students because I know their parents, but I have not had that connection like that face-to-face with any of them. I have not had the chance of meeting them, and it's not an easy task dealing with infant one students, especially when some of them enter into the classroom for the first time. But from the previous government where we had to put things in place, our school was ready.
Okay. So you're aiming for April?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we're quickly running out of time, so I want to just get some of the reactions from you guys. What's your concern when the children do, let's say, it's September or April or May. You feel safe enough to bring your children back to school. They've been out of the classroom. No one has had this experience ever. What's your concern for when the children come back in? Start with you, Danica.
Well, my major concern is keeping them apart. Um, because dealing with primary school children is not an easy task. And
They
remember
love
now, they
hugs.
have been out of school for over an year.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of classroom management will have to
Mm-hmm.
um, be in place, all right? A lot of them will come back with certain behaviors. We will have to try to, and we will just have to continue be modeling what they're supposed to do, make sure that they social distance, because we do not know how long we will be in this situation.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
Classroom
because
management,
everything
that's,
could be going down now, but come next after the Easter break, like Mr. Liva had said, maybe things could boost up. Who knows?
yeah, yeah. And what about from the secondary level? What are your thoughts about when the children do come back to school? I think one of the things Danica mentioned was classroom management. What do you expect?
Um, I can speak for a Sacred Heart, and I guess it applies to most of our schools. I am presently looking at sanitization that will need to happen if when students come in and then another group is to come into the classroom. Sanitization must happen regularly,
Mm-hmm.
daily, and definitely that involves expenses also because
Yeah,
of the equipment and everything that has to be done, and also the maintenance people to be doing that.
that's so true. So
Um,
you mean between the groups, who's gonna wipe down and clean everything?
right. Exactly. Someone has to be doing, there has to be sanitization in the classrooms, on a daily basis. That is one of the things that also was recommended, from before, especially with COVID, because we don't know who is coming, and then all the classrooms will be used, but it would only be half of the students in each one of the classes. So basically, that I guess sanitization is a key thing, and also the washing of hands, also the wardens. As a school, many of us might have maybe one warden, two wardens, to be able, especially during breaks. If we will be able to manage that at this point in time, more than likely it would be like what we had discussed before. Have the students bring their snacks and remain in the classroom rather than being out. But then it is also confining them to a room, and this additional supervision that has to happen not only on the part of maintenance, but most importantly on the part of our teachers also. So I guess it is a challenge. There are a lot of challenges that, yes, we will need to adjust, and I guess this is the time for us to start to make that plan for the new school year, to be able to have all these things even far more better for
Yeah.
our students and our faculty and staff.
And
And
from your end, go ahead.
remember too, it was also stated that the students should not be cleaning. So
Ah,
it will be solely on the teachers and maybe the maintenance personnel at the different schools.
and most likely it'll be the teachers, because even if you have one maintenance person, they can't wipe down all the desks in all the
Mm-hmm.
classrooms. From your end, Mr. Leiva?
Well, I definitely see that we have to establish
Yeah.
a new culture of the way we behave. We have to instill a high level of responsibility for all. Students, in our case, the young people, these teenagers, they will tend to want to socialize. And we see it already in our communities where once people are familiar with each other, then the boundaries get fuzzy. And so even though you're supposed to maintain your distance, you see people still reaching out and bumping fists and elbows, and people who know each other, they still hug. Just yesterday, somebody who came to see me wanted to shake my hand, and I stepped back. and said,
You have to remind them we're still in a pandemic.
Yes, so we have to. I think that will be the major challenge to instill that culture at the beginning
Yeah,
of how we're supposed to behave. We have to model that. We
yeah,
have to really monitor it and instill it because more instill that culture rather than be monitoring because it will be hard. We don't have the personnel to be looking after all of the students. We want them to behave the right way without being seen because the teachers they can be all over the place
yeah.
and we don't have auxiliary staff will be around. Our school doesn't even have wardens to begin with,
Wow.
you know. So the
Yeah,
big challenge will be for students to learn a
adhere.
new culture of what the expected behavior is in school, so that we mitigate the spread of this disease.
Yeah,
Hopefully, we'll be able to maintain the rate of infection to very close to zero,
yeah.
you know, so that there isn't a high risk when the students are at school.
And I can't miss the opportunity to be able to ask this one final question since we've been trying to get everybody's perspective. I'll start with you, Mr. Leva, who actually was my high school math teacher. Um, the ongoing negotiations about the salary cut and increment freeze, what's your perspective there?
Well,
You've done the math, I'm sure.
well, nobody wants a salary cut, definitely. Um, the the salaries of teachers and public officers, for the most part, people have their monies budgeted, and it will affect significantly. And as has been said before, if money isn't circulating, the economy will get into a worse state. And so shrinking the economy even further by not having money moving around is going to affect.
All right. Rocio?
Yes, I definitely concur with Mr. Leva, and I would also like to share that presently I think that one of the key things that is happening is that all our income is to a large extent is remaining in Belize. You know, I visited a doctor recently. I'm just using this as an example.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor said, you know, before COVID, he said, you know, this is how it was at the hospital. But presently, because our people need to come to our hospitals now, and they really, many of them don't want to go out, you know, to visit doctors in Chetumal, Merida, or outside of Belize.
Mm-hmm.
So they are really full with a lot of clients and patients coming in. So I think that that is something also that is good for us, the economy, where the income is remaining in Belize. And I am pretty sure that as teachers, it's, you know, that cut, as we are calling it, would definitely be very detrimental to many of us, because we do have budgeted
Yeah.
our salaries, and many of us have our salaries committed already.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that we can try to find other measures, you know, and even maybe if it is a lower amount that is being looked at, it's something that can definitely be considered. But definitely, I don't think not at 10% at this point in time. It will really, really be a drastic challenge for too many families that are already unemployed in our community.
Yeah. And Danica, you and your teachers?
Well, I agreed with Mrs. Carballo and Mr. Liva. We already have our monies are already budgeted, and for us to receive this pay cut, many people are saying that as teachers we are selfish, but we do not have as much benefits as some of them out there, and we are the ones who spend our money with our students within our classrooms, because whenever our students come to us and they don't have something to eat, we make sure that they get something to eat. If they come to school without materials, we make sure that we go into our pocket and we give them those materials. And so this 10% cut, and then with this phasing too at present, they're saying that if the students don't have X, Y, and Z, they can come to school. Who will be the ones to be help providing for them? It will be the same teachers again. So I am not saying that something doesn't need to be put in place, but at the same time, I think the 10% is too much. That is the only thing some of us may take home after paying all our bills that we have to be paying out there until we get a pay again. We get pay once a month. It's not like we have pay 2 times for the month. And so it is kind of unfair in our, well, presently for many of us right now, and the teachers are fighting, but that is where I stand. I cannot take a 10% pay cut.
All right. Well,
And
I appreciate your
I'd like to add, if I may add, that
Yes.
our teachers have been working harder, this year, having
That's
to
true.
adjust to the online modality, or even the teachers who are preparing packages. They have been working. So the claim by people who don't know what the experiences of teaching for this pandemic year has been, I think it's ignorance when they say that the teachers haven't been working, because the teachers have been working even more.
Harder.
That's
And
right.
also to add to that, as he said about preparing the packages, I look at my granddaughter who is at a different primary school. The work is sent to her through the Google Classroom, and she has to write every worksheet from that Google Classroom. Now we have to send out our booklets. When the parents didn't send in their materials, we asked for it. Not many of them provided us with at least with the copy paper. Who had to get those copy papers? Sometimes we are taking our own copy papers. At one point, our local manager sponsor us with copy paper. So that is where we are, because the government is not helping us in those areas. The school has to provide, and a small school like us, it's very hard.
I really appreciate your honesty. I'd love to keep you all on longer, but we are out of time. And, it's important for us to hear the voices from across the country and from directly those who are being directly affected. So I appreciate you sharing where you are in making this decision and how you are moving forward with the eventual return to the classroom. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank
You're
you
welcome.
too. Welcome very much.
And with that, we are going to go ahead and take a break. And speaking about online school, we're talking about online services. Social Security Board is making it a lot easier for us to be able to access some of their services. They're going to tell us all the details about that after the break. So please stay tuned.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.